When we think about Parkinson's disease, our minds usually jump to the things we can see, right? The tremors, the stiffness. But what if one of its biggest, most challenging complications is something most people have never even heard of? Today, we're going to dig into a really important 2025 study that uncovers a kind of hidden enemy for people with Parkinson's, and it's found in their own muscles. So, what is this hidden problem we're talking about? It's a condition called sarcopenia, and you can almost think of it as a silent partner to Parkinson's, one that makes things even tougher in ways we're only now starting to fully grasp. So, what is it exactly? Well, sarcopenia is basically the gradual loss of muscle and strength that happens as we get older. It's kind of like your body's power slowly and quietly fading. Now, this happens to a lot of us as we age, but as you're about to see, for someone living with Parkinson's, it's a whole different ballgame. It's a much more serious challenge. And that leads us to the big question researchers were trying to answer. Why on earth is this condition so much more common in the Parkinson's community? What's the connection here? Okay, just take a look at this chart for a second to see the scale of the problem. In the general population of older adults, sarcopenia hits about 10%, which, is already a pretty big number. But then look at the group of Parkinson's patients in this study. That number just skyrockets. Yeah, a shocking 33%. 1 out of every 3 patients in this study had sarcopenia. So this clearly isn't some small side issue. It's a major coexisting condition that really, really needed a closer look. So how do the researchers even begin to figure out why there's such a huge difference? Well, they set up their investigation almost like a detective case, hunting for the specific clues that were at play. All right, so the study we're looking at was published in late 2025, and it focused on a very specific group, 97 patients who could still walk and were in the mild to moderate stages of Parkinson's. The whole idea was to see if a clear pattern would pop out from the data. So here's a quick look at who they studied. The average age was right around 70. There was a mix of men and women, and on average, they'd been living with Parkinson's for over 7 years, and they were all in those earlier to middle stages of the disease. To find the links, the researchers really cast a wide net. They measured all sorts of things, not just the obvious stuff like muscle strength and motor symptoms, but also non-motor issues like how well someone's thinking and their ability to swallow. They even looked at how patients themselves felt about their own quality of life. Okay, so they've got all this data. This stage is set for the big reveal. The researchers started crunching the numbers, looking for that pattern. Which of these things were the real smoking guns connecting Parkinson's to this serious muscle loss? So just think for a second. With all those different measurements, what do you think would be the strongest link? The severity of their tremors, maybe? How long they've had the disease? Well, the answer turned out to be really specific and super important. And here they are. After all the analysis, 3 things stood out as the strongest predictors for sarcopenia. And it's this exact combination that's so crucial. Being female, having some level of cognitive impairment, and maybe most importantly, having trouble with swallowing. That swallowing issue is a really big deal because if you have difficulty swallowing, it can lead to poor nutrition, right? And that directly starves your muscles of what they need to stay strong, which just creates this awful, vicious cycle. But here's where it gets really interesting. The study also found something that wasn't linked. And this is just as telling. I mean, you'd think that a condition causing you to lose muscle and strength would have a pretty clear negative effect on how you feel about your life day to day, wouldn't you? And yet, it didn't. When they looked at the self-reported quality of life scores, there was no real difference between the patients who had sarcopenia and those who didn't. It's a powerful reminder of just how complex Parkinson's is. The researchers think that for these patients, other things like pain, fatigue, or mood probably have a much bigger say in their overall quality of life than this gradual muscle loss does. Okay, so we've got the numbers and we've got the key risk factors, but now we get to the most important question of all. So what? Why does this discovery actually matter for the future of Parkinson's care? I think this quote from the study's conclusion really says it all. The researchers are being very direct here. They're basically saying, hey, based on this evidence, doctors need to be actively looking for sarcopenia, especially when a patient fits this new risk profile we've just identified. This research gives us a brand new playbook, and it really boils down to 3 simple, proactive steps. 1, screen patients for these 3 risk factors. 2, if those factors are there, make a point to assess that patient's muscle strength. And 3, create a plan to manage sarcopenia before it gets bad. This is all about getting ahead of the problem, not just reacting to it. And that really leaves us with a final, powerful thought. This study hands us a clear roadmap. Just by screening for these 3 things, gender, cognitive changes, and swallowing issues, we might be able to find and help a third of Parkinson's patients who are at a really high risk for this tough but manageable condition. So, could this simple checklist change how we manage Parkinson's from here on out? Based on this evidence, that's a question we absolutely have to be asking.